Yes, this episode of a Hero's Journey podcast is brought to you by S&P Inc. right here in Las Vegas. They have new locations all over the country opening up just right now in Arizona. They just opened up a place. JPS Computers out of Oregon. If you need a website built or whatnot, reach out to JPS Computers. Alex and Jesse will take care of you. And then Red Rock Harley Davidson right here in Las Vegas. I just rode my Street Glide here. It's a way of life for me. It was a gift that I didn't know that I wanted. And as soon as I got it, I had to. I'm constantly riding. The weather's perfect here, huh, Chase?
Oh, yeah, really.
Dude, it's insane. So, you run into people in your life that just, it's like, oh, you're instant friends. Like, so my next guest, I saw him in the hallway here. He was doing Action Junkies. He was on the Action Junkies show. And what I love is that he's successful doing what he loves doing. And everyone in here, you have what do they call you guys? Not you, but the associate producers, who were called interns before. And then the crew, which Sticky Paws Studios is home to me, and everybody's so great. And this guy has the right to have an ego, and he didn't. He was just kind and just opening and wanting to learn from all the young guys here, and then also impart knowledge on everyone, which was killer. And I say this because I look up to him. I haven't been over there yet. I just hear about his studio and what he's doing, and he looked at me. Well, I looked at him and said, dude, you got to be on my show. We're tossing a football out back of this place and just smiling and laughing and feeling like kids. And he said yes. And so actually we made it happen today. So my name's Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. And my guest today, his name is Nick Dais. And he has a podcast called Veterans Minimum. You got to check it out. It's over at Blue Wire, inside the Wynn. Bro, I'm kind of nervous to have somebody like you on here because I watch you with all your guests and you're such a pro. And I know that the crazy thing is it's new to you, and that's a great thing. This is a new thing you have, but it's just catching fire. And you walked in here just like, bro, I'm exhausted. This has been a crazy week, crazy day. Tell me about it, man.
Dude, first of all, what an intro. I'm going to have to play that back eventually and maybe cut up some clips because I might have a semi right now. Going on, be honest. But, dude, this is – I always like coming here. Everyone welcomes me with open arms. And, yeah, ego is something I definitely do not have.
You don't.
And you gave me one of the coolest compliments when we first met. It was right over there at that door as I was finishing recording with John. Shouts to John Orlando. I was on Action Junkies. And you were like, yo, I don't know anything about you, but I know I could tell that you do this for real.
Yeah.
And this is what you do. And I was like, man, that's a dope fucking compliment.
It was true and from the heart, man. I meant it. I stood in that doorway watching you, and I was watching in the next room, in the viewing room, and I didn't know who you were. I had no clue, but I'm like, this guy is a natural on camera. And now watch us just screw up all over the place. But
that's usually how it goes,
that's how it's going to happen. But no, for real, like I was watching in the next room, dude, and I just kept getting engaged. I kept leaning into your story. And then I had to stop listening because I'm like, I want this guy on my show and I don't want to know much about you. But when we were out back, what I did know and what I did notice, and from even in the intro, it's the way you treated my boys. Like these guys here, Austin, Chase, Travis, and George, they're my boys here, and they looked up to you, and I could see that in their eyes, and you were imparting knowledge, but also going, how do you do this? How do you do that? And that right there, it just, then you became like, you have your own studio, but I see you here as much as I see, like anywhere. So it's killer, man. Thanks for being on my show.
No, absolutely, dude. It's an honor. Anytime people want to talk to me, I'm kind of for it, and especially when it's you guys here at Sticky Paws. And like I said from the beginning, us two kind of just hit it off back there when we were throwing the football around and just hanging out. But I get it. I get it from my pops, dude.
Yeah.
Like, my dad is the most curious individual you'll ever meet. Like, he'll be like, "Oh, where'd you get that ring from?
Oh, yeah.
How much you spend for it?" And then randomly he'll be like, "Yo, I could get you a ring for it." It's like that.
That's
no
too
one,
much.
Yeah.
So you pay too much.
It's like Pops, nobody that makes rings. What are you telling him? But growing up, I used to think that was kind of cringe and creepy, and
right.
But then you start to realize how many people actually appreciate when it's like a natural curiosity. It's not
Right.
you just trying to fish shit out of someone.
Right.
And when it's certain topics, content creating or podcasting, whatever it is, something that I'm interested in, I don't feel like I know anything more than anyone else. So all you need to pick up is one or two things that never crossed your mind.
Right.
And that's a win, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I've always been curious. It's a gift and a curse. I'm very persistent too with everything. And the reason why I say gift and a curse is because in some fields it's a blessing, in others it's a curse.
Of course, but I see you. Like, I watch you. I follow you on social media, and there's so much knowledge in what you're spitting out. You're spitting out just all these graphics and all these things about like sports, and there's a love there. You could tell. Like,
Yeah.
I could tell by we're talking about football, and there was a story, of you getting to take on the first string defense, and you were the
I was a kicker. I was a kicker at Buffalo State.
yeah.
And we ended up winning intramurals, which is like Sunday rec league football. And I took a bunch of my buddies from my dorm, all freshmen, and we ended up going to the finals, and we won it. And we beat like a lot of the dudes that played for like the team, Buffalo
Right.
State, Division III. And I got called into the coach's office, and they're like, "Dais, come here." And I was like, I never talked to Coach Boys was his name. I was like, I never talked to him. I was like,
That's kicker.
I was a kicker. The worst. Yo, being a kicker sucks so much, man. It's so isolating, and especially like I played quarterback in high school. So you go from like being the man and everyone knows you, and you're so involved.
Right.
Like, you're involved in everything.
Yeah.
Right. Scout team or regular first team offense, and then you go to kicking. Literally, it's Buffalo. I don't know if you've ever been up to Buffalo, but the
Cold,
dark.
Yep.
Like 26 of the 30 days in the month is cloudy. When you see the sun, you're like, holy shit, it's sunny, right? So I went and I'm just like, you're kicking into a net for hours, dude.
Right.
And then they'll blow the whistle and they'll be like, field goal. And they have like situational kicking, it's called. It's
Right.
like, all right, the ball is on the 35-yard line, right hash. Go. You have to know that, well, the ball's on the 35. I'm setting up at the 42. This is a 52-yard field goal.
Right.
Right? So you have to go out there. And that was my practices. That was it. And then back into the net like a square, just kicking into the whole time. That was the practice. So I got called into the coach's office. And he's like, you? I was like, what? He's like, you beat everyone in intramurals? I was like, yeah. He's like, you could throw? I was like, yeah, I was a quarterback. He's like, how come you haven't said anything? I was like, well, there's 8 guys on the depth chart, and I thought like my quarterbacking career was done with. He's like, we need someone to run scout team. And I started running scout team, and like the first week I lit up the starting defense. And he calls me up at the end of the practice, and he's like, Dais, get up here. And he just puts his arm around me. He's like, this is our kicker, y'all. Defense, get it together. I had them running sprints and shit. So
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that story, because I could tell by the way you were slinging a football in the back. But there's what's crazy is this is a Hero's Journey podcast, right? And I know you just said you didn't grow up here. You're from the East Coast.
Yep, New York, Queens.
Tell me how you got here, how you landed in the biggest podcast studio in Las Vegas. What's that story, man?
So, oh man, there's a lot to get into.
That's okay.
Yeah. So Blue Wire is the network that I'm a part of.
Okay.
My show got picked up by them back in 2019. And it was at a really pivotal point in my podcasting career, because I started creating content in 2015. And I started with 4 other dudes. And then over time, people's interests changed, relationships changed, life just gets in the way. And I wasn't exactly star-spangled awesome throughout that whole tenure too, because I was going through my own stuff I was going to become a cop.
Oh, wow.
So when I was going to become a cop, I had to make a decision. Well, you're going to be on 18-month probation from the internet. You can't have any social media. I was like, well, that's like career suicide.
Yeah, you're killing
when
yourself.
you're trying to create something from the ground up.
That takes years sometimes.
So I was about 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I wasn't committing to a lot of things with the podcast, kind of soured the relationship with some of the other guys, which were like childhood friends. And that's who I started doing the show with. So around 2019, right before the football season, we all kind of went our separate ways. But I was the only one that said, hey, man, I want to keep doing this. Like, this is all I like doing. This is, I've spent too much time on it for me to just give up on it. I don't want to. So I kind of inherited Veterans Minimum. And then 3-4 months later, Kevin Jones, the CEO of Blue Wire, just like slides into my DMs and he's like, hey man, I love your content. Are you a part of a network? How do you make your money? You want to monetize your show? And I was all in. I was like, you know what, man, this is at a time where I had just went solo. And then 3-4 months later, this dude is offering me this opportunity.
Wow.
And, you know, one conversation leads to another. And I had told him from that day, I was like, yo, I'm the best investment you'll make.
I love that.
Like that.
I love that.
Like, you ever heard the story of Tom Brady when he got drafted? He goes up to Robert Kraft and he goes, I'm going to be the best decision this franchise has ever made. And he wasn't even on the roster yet.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So he went, because there used to be another Brady on the Patriots when he first got there, and he was like a tight end. And he went up to Robert Kraft and he's like, I just want you to know, when he introduced himself, he's like, I want you to know that this is the best decision your organization's ever made. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, this dude's not going to even be on the roster, right? And then he goes on to win like all these games. And he's the GOAT.
Wow.
So I told Kevin that, and it was the first time I was actually making money in my podcast. Like, making money off. They would get me the sponsors. They would get me the ads. And based on your downloads, CPMs, that's getting like super nerdy. But, you know, I started making some money there. And then I had a Patreon where a lot of like the hardcore fans would just donate, and you get like certain incentives depending on the tier. I like to say that Patreon is like OnlyFans, but you keep your pants on. So it's like a subscription model, and
I love it.
People can, like, you know,
I'm glad you keep your pants on. That's good.
You got to keep it a little classy for the most part. So
I did radio this morning, and I about told him, hey, I don't have any pants on. You know, it was on national radio this morning. It's so funny. I almost said it because I was like, I got shorts on, but I didn't. It's radio.
It's from the waist up. You gotta look.
I was all here, so it was all good. You know.
So so I signed with Blue Wire. This is December 2019, and then, you know, immediately the show like hit a next level because it became easier to reach out to guests and get them when you're a part of something,
right?
Because there's millions of podcasts.
Yes, there are.
Right, and it's very difficult for you to be able to differentiate yourself from others, and you know, you got to find your niche and find that demographic that works for you. And for me, it's always like, I've always been the sports betting dude in my friend group. Like,
really?
Even, like growing up, I fell in love with the gambling and the lines and the betting. And it was how my father and I always bonded over like sports bets. And, you know, a couple months go by, a couple years go by, Blue Wire ends up partnering with the Wynn, and they build this studio.
Whoa.
And, Kevin immediately was like, he was sending me the blueprints. He's like, yo, make sure you don't tell anyone. Like, I never told anyone. I mean, now it's like, now it's out in the open.
No big deal. It's there.
But at the time, it was like top secret. You know what I mean? And he was saying, he's like, dude, I have a feeling that we'll get you out here, and you'll make a killing. Like, your personality, your vibe, your whole style, just everything. You check all the boxes for someone to go out there. And I told him, I was like, man, just send me paperwork. It was really that simple and that easy. It's like, man, send me paperwork. At the time I was 29, and I was like, yo, not married, no kids, no girlfriend. Kind of like, I've been so all in on my content, dude, that I've ruined a lot of relationships with friends, family, girls also. Just like, man, I gotta just do this. Like, I'm gonna edit this shitty video that 27 people are gonna see, but there's a reason why, right? Like, the body of work. And dude, every opportunity I've ever gotten has had nothing to do with my social media.
That's incredible. It's your personality. It's the way you are, man.
It's that, and it's also like the body of work. Like this, I've been doing my show for 7.5 years, 2 episodes a week. Under, you know, only one time I haven't recorded twice in a week, and then the week after I ended up recording 3 times.
Oh, you know? So you made up for it.
I hit my marks. I hit the 8 episodes a month, and it's like, You give me a task, I'll be able to deliver for you. So everything was just self-taught, like learned how to edit. Dude, I dropped out of college. I went for business administration, super vanilla and generic.
Right.
You know? So,
right. I dropped out of college too. I was a baseball player. That's the only reason why I went. And so when I got hurt, I was like, I'm out.
the same for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Like this is not it. Wasn't here. There's no reason for it. Jumped in a car, moved to Hollywood, lived in a parking lot for 3.5 months until I got my thing, feet on the ground and figured out what I wanted to do. So same thing, man. Like I believed in it here and let's go.
Yeah, but also I'm sure you put in a lot of fucking work.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Like, that's so. Here's the thing, right? I get a little upset sometimes. Like the thing I find the most cringe on social media is like the self-help, self-coach gurus.
Oh my God, I know.
Oh man, it's like,
know.
yo, all that stuff sounds good.
Right.
Like I like The Secret. You ever heard of The Secret?
Yeah.
Like the laws of attraction.
Yeah.
Like I believe in that stuff.
Sure.
Like I read the book, but when I read the book when I was younger and I didn't do shit, nothing happened.
Right.
It's
right.
like, yo, you really gotta work.
Put
you
in the
gotta
work.
Put in time. Like that's a real thing. The 10,000 Hours by Malcolm Gladwell. Like these are real things that you need to do. So yeah, you gotta believe it. You gotta trust it. But you also need to be realistic too, I think.
Yeah.
And I like to pride myself on being self-aware. I'm able to read a room. I know when it's all right, it's time to go. Like I don't need Bryan to tell me it's time to go.
Right.
I get it. It's late. Bryan got to go meet up with the +1 for dinner. I'm not going to stall him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I've always valued that. And for me, like it's always been to deliver and to learn and to just get shit done. Like I live my life off those 3 words. Just get shit done.
Love it. I love it, man. So what's the day in the life like on your show? For those of you who don't know, Veterans Minimum is his show. And by the way, I forgot to mention, Rock Rage Radio listeners out there, we get 20 million listeners a month to this show. Or not, I don't know if they listen to the show, but to Rock Rage Radio. And shout out, we are everywhere. Thank you. We got Nick Dais on the show, Veterans Minimum podcast, right out of the Wynn. If you're walking through there, you can see him. It's like seeing him in a fishbowl. And everybody can see you. It's insane with these big screen TVs. You're sitting at a table. It's a full-blown production like a television show. And you're talking to your guests, but also to everybody who wants to stand there and watch you do your show. And that's incredible. It's an incredible, you've earned this right to do that. Now, your show, what's it about? Like, what can they expect? You're helping, because you're into, the sports gambling and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been to a fight party with you, watching you. Everybody's talking, whatever. You were intent.
Locked in.
But you were locked in, man.
Yeah.
But you were whipping out these tickets. Yep, winner, nope, winner.
Yeah. So my show is, I like to call it the best sports betting vibe on the internet.
Awesome.
And it's like a fun hang, and I like to say that you leave smarter than you came in. Like you'll learn something about sports betting, a lot of sports betting 101 for dummies, things like that. Understanding, well, why is this team a 9-point favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this team a favorite on the road when at home they probably wouldn't be? Like it's dissecting it from a different viewpoint. But also, like I talk about a lot of like sports too, like things that I find interesting. I've been able to carve a lane that my audience enjoys too, because there's also like there's no fuckery behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know I've had so many opportunities, dude, to interview people that have massive platforms. I just don't find them interesting, or like I don't have something that I could connect with them about. So I don't want to just have you on there, because then it comes off. It radiates through the microphone into the listener's ears when they know me long enough now. I've been doing this for so long. If you've been an avid listener, you listen to all my content, you could tell when I'm engaged and when I'm not.
Right.
And I also am like, if I'm gonna hurt your feelings, like it is what it is. I'm just not
love that. Yeah. But that's that East Coast attitude too.
Yeah.
And that little bit of, I have friends from the East Coast, and they do dude, that's a great painting. And they're like, same thing. What'd you pay for that? And then it's like, I know a guy. And I'm like, I already have it. I know if I pay too much for it, or I didn't pay anything for it, whatever. Oh, that's a great deal. Yeah. But not stereotyping, but those are my buddies, from the East Coast. kind of thing.
And that's what I have on my show too, where I've been able to sort of sculpt all my close friends that know sports into being my NBA guy, my NFL guy. So then when I have it
Brilliant.
on, when people listen to the show, it's really like you or your buddies at the bar.
Right.
A lot of the same conversations. We don't take ourselves too seriously. I love when I have. That's why I like having my friends on, because your friends will give you shit. You know,
Yeah.
like when you're comfortable with someone, they'll make fun of you, they'll clown you. It comes from a place of love, but it's also when people are listening to that, they understand that, oh, this is how I am with my friends.
Oh, of course. Like Chase, Nick hit me with a text and he was like, hey, I got a fresh cut. I got to find a +1 for this summer. So for the show, you know?
We need to, yeah. Dude, so I was at, I got a good story for you. I pull up to the Wynn and I'm on my phone and it's like middle of the afternoon, probably like 1 or 2 o'clock. Cause I wasn't working that morning. I was just going to record my show. I usually record around 2:30. I'm on my phone. I look up and there's just like 100 girls just lined up down the hall at the Wynn, and one is prettier than the other. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it was when the girls were auditioning to be Encore Beach Club girls.
No way.
And then I found out how much money some of them pull in.
Oh,
and
dude, it's like, crazy.
I'm like, I would love to be spoiled. And, get some sneakers.
Dude, yeah. Did you see throw those up on the table. Dude, did you see those? Chase, get a shot of that.
This will be
My girl's going to be so jealous.
Oh, that's much easier. Thank you.
So jealous.
Chase, I got you.
Yeah. For real. My girl, she just bought me. I don't have them on because I was riding my my Harley over here. But she got me some Air Jordans and my buddy Tommy Vex from former singer of Bad Wolves. I saw him the other day and he's like, yo, Bryan, those blue bottoms? I'm like, what's that mean? I don't know. I've never owned a pair before, but she got them for me for Valentine's Day, you know? And so I feel like one of the cool kids.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, bro, that's the only thing I really spend money on.
Yeah.
Sneakers, yeah.
There you go.
Love sneakers, dude. Like, I probably have about 25 pairs here, but I have like over 100 back home.
Oh.
And I'm going back home in April for the first time since I moved out here.
And how long is that? How long you been home?
September.
Okay.
Been here since September.
Dude, this
We
is
got
great.
super sidetracked a little bit.
Yeah,
but
we did. Go back, please.
Yeah, I'll go back to how
Yeah.
I ended up coming here.
Yeah.
So I took a trip out to Vegas around March of last year for the UFC fight, Covington Masvidal.
Okay.
It was March. My birthday is on the 11th of March. So I told one of my buddies who used to be on the show with me, we call him Boss. His name is also Nick. We have 4 Nick D's in our friend group. So everyone kind of has a nickname because you can't just be like, oh, yeah, Nick D. It's like, well, which one? Right? So he's Boss. Everyone called me Big Nick because I was the oldest.
Okay.
And Lamb is like my nickname. Everyone calls me Lamb because I'm Greek.
Okay.
So for Greek Easter, you eat lamb.
Lamb.
On the spit.
There you go.
So,
Okay.
So I had my buddy Nick also. I was like, yo, bro, let's go to Vegas, dude. Like the studio is there. If you're a part of Blue Wire, you could come and record, like for free. You can come in and you know that's like a perk. But you know you have to physically get there.
Right.
You know we're not gonna pay for you to come out here, but you know it's a $6 million studio. It's the perception of your show changes.
Everything.
You know, this is like top of the line. It's the best studio out there right now. So I'm like, yo, let's make a weekend of it, bro. It's Vegas. We know so many people because I've been coming to Vegas since 2013. Every summer, sometimes twice a year. And except because of COVID.
Yeah,
so I was like, yo, this
was scary. It was like a ghost town.
I do remember that because I do want to ask about Vegas during COVID.
Sure.
Because New York was a shithole too during that. So a lot of comparisons. So I told my buddy, I was like, yo, let's just go to Vegas, dude. Like tickets, we'll buy tickets. And, you know, my buddy Chris Moorhan, he used to do a show here at Sticky Paws, Well Connected, I think was the name of it. He was like a party promoter, pool promoter. And he connected with us at one of the pool parties just randomly because he's like, yo, you guys are New Yorkers. Right. And like through the years, I always keep in touch with people.
You do. Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's the point.
You have to, and I do. Like even, you know, my friends and I used to go to Miami when we were younger. Like when we were all still like 19, 20. And like we were going like in the summers and like I would connect with girls and I would just, you know, randomly like, hey, just hope you're doing well. And then fast forward to like a decade later, it's my buddy's bachelor party. That girl now runs one of the biggest restaurants in Miami.
Boom.
And she's like, hey, what are you guys doing? I saw you guys are going to be in Miami. I was like, oh, we don't know what we're going to do. She's like, let me know how many people. I'll take care of the rest.
Wow.
And then when we saw her, my friends are like, yo, you kept in touch. She's like, yeah, bro, you never know, man. Everybody's important, dude.
Exactly.
Everybody's important.
That's what this is about.
Yeah.
We're all the hero of our own story, man. And so everybody's important. You're running you.
Right.
And you can't look past those people. That's why at the beginning of this, I said that you didn't do that to these guys. You didn't do it to me. And I'm like, this dude's a real dude. This is awesome.
Every opportunity I've gotten, well, the first big opportunity I got in content creating that was like a Nick Dais thing. It wasn't because I was involved with anyone else. Was through one kid that I was cool with on Twitter.
There you go.
Now he's a buddy of mine, but at the time, like we would just like he would tweet at me, I tweet at him. You know, he'd DM me like, hey man, what do you think of this game? And I'd give him an input and whatnot. And then he ended up working with Chat Sports, which is a digital media company on YouTube. And it was the first time I made money off my content. They're like, hey, we need someone to cover the Giants and the Knicks. Rick mentioned you. I was like, yo, I've never met Rick. It's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, I know Bryan for a decade. He's never done shit for me.
Right? and here's the guy that
and Bryan, right, could be able to do, like,
right.
Bryan knows people at ESPN or CBS or wherever it might be,
right.
but it's like, fucking Rick on Twitter never met me.
And he recommends you.
He vouched for me.
Right. That's so cool.
So it was
being cool to people.
Yeah,
but
man.
back to your story. Being here, getting here.
The reason why I also mentioned that is because Chris, and to this day, like he was the guy where I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be in Vegas. What should I do? Where should I go? Where should I stay? Have you heard of this party? This and that. And like over time in the beginning, it was like client, like I was a client of his. And it became like now we're like really good friends. And when I moved to Vegas, he's the one that was like sent me all the apartments.
Oh, how cool.
I mean? So I was telling my buddy, I was like, yo, we'll go, we'll record, we'll have fun, we'll gamble. One of my friends works over at the UFC. There was like regional fights. I was like, yo, it'll be like a packed out, toxic masculinity, super high testosterone weekend. It'll be just fights. We're just going to fights all weekend. So we ended up doing that, and then I record on Sunday. I was leaving Monday afternoon, and Sunday I record at the studio. I record my content, and ironically enough, I ended up having Chris on the show also. And everyone in the studio was like, man, you had us laughing. You made us feel good. Like, thanks for coming in. And
how cool.
Thanks for occupying time. And the next day, I go on a show that used to be recorded over there called Bet to Win. It was Claudia and Joe. They used to do a sports betting show over there. And their producer was Jeremiah, who now Jeremiah is the studio operator at the Wynn.
Oh,
but at the time, he was just a producer of the show.
Okay.
And I go on there, and we're talking sports betting, and I'm hungover, dude. Like
It's a long weekend.
It was like 8:30 in the morning. I was like, fuck, man. So we're just talking sports betting, and like, you know, I lock in doing the content, whatever. And he just comes up to me after, and he goes, man, you're really fucking good at what you do. I was like, oh, thanks, dude. I know, like, you know, sports betting is, he's like, no. Like, you are incredible. Like on the mic, he's like, I could tell you're hungover, and just the moment that the cameras came on, you locked in, you took it seriously. He's like, would you be interested in like coming out here? We could use people like you. This was March of last year.
Whoa.
And I was like, man, Kevin knows. Just send me a contract. Just send me a contract. And then from then, it would be every like 3-4 weeks. It's like, yo, you're coming to Vegas. You're coming to Vegas. And then nothing will happen.
Okay.
And this was happening like month after month after month. And then they saw the work I was doing with WynnBet. I was working with WynnBet and the Wynn on a podcast with Will Blackman. He's a former NFL player, won a Super Bowl with the Giants.
Okay.
Now you'll see him on like Fox Sports. So we were doing a show where it was like the degenerate sports bettor fan and the pro.
Okay.
And like I learned so much about like the business of football and how it is a business. And, you know, you learn from a pro like him
right.
who's been there,
who's lived
that.
it. Yeah.
Right. So they had seen my work, and then a couple of things opened up. And dude, I'll never forget, man, August 16th of 2022, I had no idea I was moving to Vegas. September 1st, I was here.
Whoa.
And it was like, I got the contract sent to me because they had called me, and I was playing Xbox with my buddies.
Okay.
And they called me at like 10 o'clock Eastern time. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, no one ever calls me from Blue Wire this late. Like, something happened, some crazy shit had to go down.
It burned down.
Yeah, like something.
Right.
And they're like, yo, you're still serious about Vegas? Now, Bryan, at this point, I'm pissed.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you guys
you're kidding me? It's been 4 months or whatever. Yeah.
You've been stringing me along now for 9 months. Like,
right.
You know I am. I'm like, yo, look at your email. I look at my email, and it was exactly what I asked for. I was like, oh. I hang up the phone. I don't tell anybody. Because in the past, I'd be like, yo, I'm moving to Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, we out.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell
Nick's still here. Surprise.
I didn't tell anybody, dude. And then the first person I told, not my mom, not my dad, not my friends, my landlord.
Really?
I'm like, hey, man, my lease is up in October. I would never break the lease unless it was something so monumental.
Right.
He's like, yo, no problem. I actually went to high school with his nephew, so he knew like the kind of dude I was also. So that helped. And I sign it, look it over, send it back, and then I told my parents, I'm like, yeah, I'm moving. And then I told my buddies. So yeah, that was like,
congrats. I have a question for you because I saw you on social media. Now I was beaming with pride for you, and I only know you from coming in here and passing when we had just met, like I said, out back. But I was beaming because now you've mentioned your pops and how he's inquisitive, and I'm sure he's like, this is a job. Like this is your job. And then you get to they came out here, man, and they got to see the studio and they got to be around it and watch you do a show. What was that like? Because I only saw the social media stuff in your post, but I was beaming with pride for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a musician, and this is an extension of myself. John gave me an opportunity on a Thursday at the gym, and on Monday I had my first guest, a logo, and we were rocking and rolling, and he couldn't believe that I actually took him up on it days later, and here I am. So what was that like to have your mom and dad or your parents here?
I mean, dude, it was massive. And it was the first time where, when I'm close to someone, dude, I'm a troll. I like to say I'm a fire starter. Like, I'd be like, yo, did you hear what Chase said? And knowing what Chase said would like get you pissed. And then I would just like leave the room. Like that's But I do it to people that like I fuck with. Like if I do that to you, you know that like we're friends.
Fire
you know what
starter. I mean? I like that.
So
what did Chase do? But anyway, I want to know.
So, dude, the reason why I say that is because throughout all this stuff, my pops was never gave me any love.
Really?
Never. He didn't understand it. And you know what, dude? I don't think everyone needs to.
Yeah.
There's a line in a Kid Cudi song that I always mention. It's from the song Ghost. And he says, I hope they understand that I really understand that they don't understand.
Wow.
And every time I say that, I get chills.
Yeah, dude, you get me chills, and I'm wearing long sleeves.
Bro, that's kind of how I live my life. It's like, I don't need you to understand like why I'm editing this video for the 58 people that are going to see this, or why am I posting this podcast at 100 people. This is like the early stages of it. It's like, man, there's something there. And it's like all I care about. It's all I think about, like there'd be Friday nights, Saturday nights. Like I'd go to the bar, I'd have one drink, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just go back home and edit. And people are looking at me like, yo, what are you doing? Like the arguments I would get with my dad. He's like, yo, you're 26, 27. Like, what the fuck? Why are you staying in on a Friday night, Saturday night? Like, why are you doing this stuff? Like, nothing's gonna happen. It's like, man, don't worry. Like, I know. But like I was
That's
saying,
amazing though.
Yeah. So when they came to Vegas, I took them to the studio, and he's like looking around, and he's like, yo, you know how to work that machine? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what about that one? I was like, yeah. I was like, yo, there's nothing in here. I don't know how to work. He's like, how? I was like, all them nights he was yelling at me. I was like, I knew. I was like, I didn't need you to know. And then he's just looking around, and I go, yo. And he's like, and he just did this. He did.
Oh,
he's like,
incredible.
Checkmate.
Yeah.
Checkmate, But that's who I do it for too, man. Like I do it for my parents. My main goal in all of this is like, I want to one day. And I've never been about money, but money is important.
No, it is important.
It's very important. And, and I always talk from my perspective and my experiences. Mm-hmm. It's money doesn't buy you happiness, I think is BS. I think it can help in a lot of ways, knowing that like bills could get taken care of. I think that's a huge thing because
we stress about those things.
Dude,
we all do.
Growing up, I'm not going to say that I was poor. Definitely wasn't rich, but every month making bills was like, all right, we got through April. You know what I mean? Like,
and here comes, I got 30 days. Wait, there's 31. There's an extra day.
Yeah, now
I know it.
So like I grew up comfortable. We never went. To this day, I've never been on a family vacation with my parents. But a lot of that is because my dad's self-employed. My mom's a teacher, so in the summer she's off. But in the summer is when we're busiest in Manhattan with our coffee truck. So it's for us we could theoretically take off 2 weeks. Right. But you know what happens? We don't make any money those 2 weeks. So it's weird. But for me, it's
cool.
like,
I mean, that's crazy, but cool that it is that's something self-employed that your parents have, that you have, that you did. And now you've taken that work ethic and brought it here.
And I don't think I'd be able to do everything that I did, Bryan, if it wasn't for working at my dad's job, because I call that the dream supply. Because I'd wake up at 2:30 in the morning, 5 days a week, drive from Glen Cove, New York, Long Island, to Manhattan, and then we'd get into the city at around 4:15, fire up the grill, fire up the coffee machine, and then we'd finish work at like 11, be back home at 12. I take working out very seriously because I love how I feel. I'd gotten fat at one point, and I was like, yo, this is terrible. And I had a buddy of mine for my 25th birthday. We're grabbing drinks, and he's like, hey, man, can I tell you something? I was like, well, he's like, you've gotten fucking fat. And he's like, dude, I was like, I know. He's like, come on, bro. He's like, you're 25, not 65. Like, why are you throwing it away? He's like, yo, you're a good-looking kid, man. I care for you. Like, it's not healthy what you're doing. And that kind of, like, jump-started me.
There you go.
So I've always been someone, I was like, yo, I need you to tell me that I'm being a piece of shit.
Right.
I don't want to have to hear it from 9 different people. Like, I want you to be like, hey, man, you know what? I didn't like what you did back there. Because I just respect that person way more than having to hear it from 9 other people.
Exactly.
So,
dude, well said, man.
Yeah. So with my pops, that job, working that, when I would come home, I'd take a little power nap, 1 to 2 hours, then I'd go work out, and then I'd have the rest of the day from like 4 to 11 to do my content, to come up with ideas, to do whatever. So oftentimes I would drive back into Queens to go and record with my buddies when I was working the show back then. I would come back. So a lot of the reasons why I didn't go out on the weekends because I was catching up on sleep. You know, Saturday was the only day where I called it my no alarm clock day. It's like when I wake up is when I wake up. Don't bother me. Don't call me. Don't expect me. Don't tell me we got to be somewhere at 9 a.m. It ain't happening.
Do you think some of this too came from, because you're an athlete, bro? Do you think how hard you work came from the field as well, like playing football, playing sports, that kind of thing? Or is that the reverse? You learned it from the work ethic from your parents and you took it out on the field?
No, I think you're correct in the first assessment of the being an athlete and the discipline.
Yeah, because it is.
That's what it is, right? Like, it's not motivation. It's not being inspired. Because, like, you could show me a video of, like, you know, this dude. I saw this video today, actually, as I was coming back from the gym. And, like, I, like, kind of half-assed the workout before going to jiu-jitsu. And, like, at jiu-jitsu, you can't really half-ass it because, like, everyone's coming for your neck. But I went to the gym, and I kind of, like, loaded up the squat bar. And, you know, I did a couple squats, and then I put it back. And, you know what, man, I'm going to just go to jiu-jitsu. And I'm looking at my phone, and there's this kid with one arm, one leg, and he's deadlifting. I'm like, all right, well, I fucking feel like a piece of trash now for just, you know what I mean?
No.
So, yeah, you could look at that. And the reason why I say that is because, like, you could look at that video and get inspired, get motivated. But, like, eventually that subsides where it's like discipline, dude.
No, it's getting up. You said it, where it's part of your day. You know, I've had an awesome day. I want to shout out to Frosty, or it's not Frosty, Heidi and Frank. It's now called the Heidi and Frank Show. I was on KLOS this morning on 95.5, and it's a national show. And I had an epic morning. They played 2 songs. Callers called in. It was insane. And then I came here, and I was excited to do this. But I have to fit in going to the gym and rehearsal and all those things because that's who I am. And that's what I do. And I know that about you. I could see that in you. I see that in your work ethic. Just if you follow you on social media and what you do, it's It's great. And I almost reached out to you because March Madness, you walked in saying it's crazy here in Las Vegas.
Oh, it's been a
Okay.
zoo, yeah.
So what's a day like today? You have to leave here. What's a day like for you?
So it varies, right? Like one of the coolest moments I've had in my life has been with a childhood friend of mine, Eleni. She's actually getting married next month, and I'm going to the wedding in Arizona.
Okay.
She's like the one girl that I grew up with that's like cis. You know what I mean? Like
That's cool.
we never looked at each other in any other way, right? Like
Right.
it was always her dad and my dad are friends from Greece. So we kind of had that relationship too.
So you're like first generation here? Or if your parents are from Greece?
So my mom is born and raised here.
Okay.
My dad is Greek.
Okay.
So like 1.5 generation.
Okay, there you go. No, I was just
curious.
curious. Yeah, that's great.
So, but she's the girl that I would go to and be like, hey, you know, is it weird if I send this girl flowers at her job? Like, no, a girl might not like that. This, like she's the girl
Right.
that I would go to get, girl input from. And I was grabbing lunch with her because she lives in Arizona now, and I was grabbing lunch with her one night when she was doing like her going away party. I
Right.
couldn't make the going away party because I had a prior like obligation I had to attend. But the next day we grabbed lunch, and she asked me what you just did about like what's your day like? What do you do?
Right.
And I kind of mapped out like my 5-day schedule, and it's like gym, work, jujitsu, podcast, video games,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And that I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I do. She's like, you really only do like 5 or 6 things, huh? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, dude, I literally only see you do those things. I was like, yo, I love doing it.
Right.
And like I always tell people like, yo, you'll never see me do something I don't want to do.
But like March Madness, I get that. I get that. But how do you get the knowledge? Where does that come from? March Madness is here, and I almost reached out to you because I was like, yeah, maybe I should bet for the very first time on Alabama to win it all. That was my gut instinct like 2 days ago, but I don't bet.
Yeah.
And I almost reached out to you just because I know you're that guy who knows. But March Madness is around. How do you know basketball? Like, where does that come from?
So this is a fascinating question because I have a deep despise of college sports.
Really?
I do not like it at all. I rarely bet it. I have a problem with betting on people that are younger than me that aren't professionals.
Okay.
It's like a mental thing for me. It's like, dude, these kids are going to become accountants, work at like Home Depot maybe one day. Like they're going to be like regular civilians. So for me to put my money on, I was like, I don't know. It always feels weird. Like I remember myself back in college.
Yeah.
Like if a girl broke up with me and then I got to go play a game. National tennis, like, yo, I don't know if this point guard is rattled.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's a massive weekend, and I'm able to navigate through not knowing too much about the sport. I navigate and I'm able to know about the sport because of the sports betting.
Okay.
So like I could tell you off the bat where schools like Duke, Kentucky, Michigan, North Carolina, even though they're not in the tournament, these big powerhouse schools, they're always going to get so much more money than Oral Roberts and San Diego State because there's bigger alumni groups. They're more popular.
Okay.
For someone like me or someone like you who just tunes in for the tournament, everyone does a bracket. Like
Right.
my mom even knows about Michigan and Duke.
Okay.
Like she picked Duke to win the whole thing.
Oh, did she?
But she hasn't watched any basketball.
Right.
So March Madness is the only sporting event where public perception is more significant than any other sporting event.
Okay.
And it's just been a zoo, like whether at the studio or even just navigating through the strip.
Yeah.
It's like Frat Star Central.
Dude,
over
I tried to get some restaurant, reservations the other day, and it was like 7 restaurants. I couldn't get them, and it's not because Chase is over there. I have to keep an eye on this guy because he'll be swiping right, and I'm like, yo, switch the cameras, man.
I don't
like,
know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
man.
he's over there swiping.
What are you
left,
on? What are
right.
you on Bumble?
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of everything,
You dirty dog. Dude.
I just got to keep him off Pornhub over there. So,
I plead the fifth, brother.
oh man. Again, I just said I don't bet, right? But is there a specialty for you? Because we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon, but I want to know what you feel like. Is it football? What is it because I see a lot of your comments on football and things like that.
Yeah, I would say I know a little bit about a lot,
Okay.
and sports betting allows me to talk about so many different sports, but my strengths would be football, soccer, and UFC.
Really?
Yeah, and I think UFC, man, I'm criminally underappreciated in the UFC space.
Really?
Yeah, I do really well. It's the one sport that I think I have a huge advantage on like sports books too.
Yeah.
I win more frequently there. Like you could ask George. George is like, dude, every fucking week you're just winning in UFC. Because in UFC, what's interesting, Bryan, is that there's so many different ways fighters could win. So I never bet a 2-1 favorite.
Okay.
I'll bet him to win by submission at plus 300.
Whoa.
I'll bet him by knockout, maybe plus 180. So there's ways to find the buzzword value in certain opponents in certain fights. Styles make fights. Some guys are very, very dangerous in the first round. Then after that, they're more muscular. They tire out. Then, that one guy, he is a cardio machine. Maybe he beats him in the second or third round. So like identifying method of victory, round betting,
Right.
things like that is where I get a big edge. And it's been a sport that I'm super passionate about it. I love fighting. I do jiu-jitsu also.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
It's the one sport I think I do really, really well in. And that's like my Trojan horse. Like that the UFC stuff, because I know the NFL very, very well also.
Okay.
I don't listen to anyone's input, any takes. Like these are all like,
Yeah, that was my question. I wanted to know, like, is it your own research? Is it your own eyes? Are you paying attention to those things on your own? And that's your gut. You're saying this is the way it is.
I much rather go down and lose $100 because I thought that was the right move than me listening to Bryan. And then I'm like, oh, I lost Bryan like that pick. Well, fuck Bryan now. I don't want to listen to him, or I'm never listening to Bryan again. So I never wanted to do that. So like all my takes, all my bets are always just my own, and it's my own research, because I do it also for my show too. So it kind of correlates,
Right.
So I'm gathering that information.
That's what I mean. I mean, you're dropping knowledge from for your show.
Yeah, and it also it builds back credibility to the show. And for me, those are the reason why I say the Trojan horse is because like the NFL is the most popular, and everyone thinks they know the NFL. They don't. The NFL is it's the sharpest sport to try to bet on.
Wow.
It's the one that's the most difficult because it's the most popular. You have a lot of people that think they just know it, but they don't. And for me, the NFL, I do really, really well. I did a super contest this past year, and I came in 83rd out of 8,800 people.
Whoa.
$100 turned into $1,200.
Oh, wow.
And I was like 3 bad plays away from winning like a nice 5-figure day. So I'm excited to do that for next year.
Okay.
But this has been again, before we were talking in passing about, like content creating and how, you have to be a little realistic, right? Like every couple of months, maybe I've been lucky, but I also think that I put myself in those positions to have it happen. You get a little pat on the back from someone. You get a guest that you didn't think you were going to have on.
Right.
You get a opportunity that even if dude, the amount of times that I've auditioned for like big networks and it just hasn't, like I didn't get it.
Right.
But I leave there like, this shit is working, dude.
Right.
That to me is validation.
Yeah, you're so comfortable doing it and sharing yourself. It comes across just in social media and on your podcast. It's awesome. I saw it in the other room when I was passing by. I'm like, who's this? And I'm watching, and you were talking about the rats in New York, and you were just sharing stories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to touch on something, because you were saying UFC. I watched you again. You were like locked in on the TV, and next to you was O'Day Osborne, who was a guest a couple of episodes back.
Shout out to O'Day, man.
Yeah, and
good people.
And O'Day was in the room watching the fights in a different way. He was, watching. Because he's a fighter. He just fought like 3 weeks ago and won. And that was like watching a Rocky movie, because he left everything in the cage.
What's crazy about that story, because we were watching that at John's house.
Yeah.
And O'Day was next to me. And that was like the first time I met O'Day. And at one point, it's just him and I on the couch. and we're watching the fight, and he's just breaking it down.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whole different. He was putting on a clinic, right?
Right.
And at one point, he just turns to me, he goes, "My bad, bro. I'm being one of those guys." I was like, "Yo, I don't have a problem with it because you are one of those guys."
Yeah,
right? Like
you're
it's
not. He's not a Monday quarterback.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
you're not
saying?
an armchair quarterback
Exactly.
right now. It's like, dude, if I'm gonna sit here and listen to someone just talk for 30 minutes about fighting, I'd rather it be a fighter. It's not one of my buddies back home who's hammered
and not
knows nothing about it.
and not an amateur. He's a pro. He fights in that octagon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was cool, and to watch him, I got to be in the audience and watch him do that live, and it was great to see people do things on the highest level, just like I get to sit back and watch you do this. I was nervous to have you on my show today. But no, I was, because of who you are. And I didn't want, it was one of those things that I knew if we were going to mess up, it would be Chase. Chase did it.
Yeah, we just blamed
it was
Chase,
blaming
yo.
Chase.
That's it.
It'd be Chase doing it, not running the camera, doing, swiping right, hanging out on Pornhub.
I feel like you're attacking me today, Bryan. I don't know what the deal is, man. I'm just doing my best over here.
You're killing it, bro.
Yo, can I ask you something about you, man?
Fire away.
Because I'm always fascinated by how people operate and how people think.
Yeah.
Yo, that promo package that you're playing in the beginning, you're playing in front of hundreds and thousands of people.
Thousands. But yeah, thank you. That's what I do for a living.
Yo, that's like, what's that like? Having people just make some noise and then they fucking make noise. Like, that's
exactly.
dope.
No, it's really cool to have those people sing back words and melody that I created. Like, I could be sitting in my room or my living room or on the bus when I wrote these songs, or I remember writing a song sitting outside the movie theater, outside my bus in Iowa, waiting for the movie to start. And to know that I'm standing in front of all these people and now they're singing it back to me is crazy. My parents said that. I let my parents live with me, not let. I said, you got to come stay with me 7-8 months out of the year. And here's a room. This is yours. Make the home, decorate it however you want. And I would be gone back and forth all the time. And I would be up all night, in the middle of the night, and they're in bed. And then I would get up at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's my morning, right? And my dad's like, you were up all night. I'm like, yeah. And this is recent, And I'm like, here, this is what I wrote. And share a song. And my mom would just get giddy because she would know in like 6 months, maybe less, I'd be playing that song in front of thousands of people, and they would get to watch that and know that I was up in the middle of the night when everybody else was sleeping. I was creating. So to have that moment with, and share that, and my mom knows, or to write about my parents or my family or what I'm going through. My mom's like seeing me, like heartbroken, and the next thing you know, here's a song that comes out and people are connecting to it. And I mentioned that I didn't mean to hijack your day, but I'm having a great day, man. I was on national radio today on one of the biggest rock stations in the country. And they played one of my songs and people went nuts. So they played another one and they went nuts. And I went, whoa. And as I'm walking in here, I'm texting with the DJ and he's like the biggest guy. And he's like, if you come out here, you can stay at my place. Come play. You got to come on this show. And I've wanted to be on that show forever. And then here I am. And it was today. And to have
open,
Jeff
man.
Suppan, the baseball player for the Cardinals, World Series champ in 2006, he's texting me going, bro, I'm listening to you on the radio. I'm trying to call in. I've never called a radio station in my life, but I'm trying to call in right now. And Josie Scott from the band Saliva is texting me going, dude, that was awesome. And I'm like, hey, I got this song. We should do this song together. And he hits me back and said, done. I love it. Let's do it. And so it's been an awesome day. And you topped it off by walking in and joining me. And I appreciate you for joining us here on the Hero's Journey podcast, bro. Like, it means a lot. And thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And like I said, that intro in the beginning and then even the conversation too. And, to just put a bow on this, what you said about, your parents saying that, oh, you were up all night. It's like, man, a real man when no one's watching is putting in work.
Exactly.
And
it gave me chills,
like,
man.
That's what it takes, dude.
Yeah.
And look, people don't need to understand. It's like you find that thing that you enjoy doing. It sounds so cliche, but take it from me as someone that like I only do things that I want to do. So me coming on the show is because I want to do it.
Thank you.
I don't do like you'll never see me do something I don't want to do. And I I don't want that to go over your head. It's very important because there's a lot of people that kind of just like do they go places where they're being told to go. It's like, man, if I don't go, like
it means a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you,
no,
Chase.
Thanks for having me.
That's a reel.
Yeah,
Bro,
that was a promo.
Mark, that is a promo reel right there because that was from the heart, man. Thank you. I got Nick Dais on the show, everybody. Nick Dais from Veterans Minimum. You guys go check out his podcast. Chase, the voice producer, say hello to everybody.
Howdy,
goodbye to everybody.
And goodbye.
Yeah, stay off the Pornhub. Love you, dude. But shout out Rock Rage Radio listeners out there. Thank you. As they say, we are everywhere. To my sponsors over here, S&P Inc., JPS Computers, and Red Rock Harley Davidson. Thank you. And especially Sticky Paws Studios, everybody here. Thank you. I'm Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. Be safe.
Dream, and I believe it's coming around to me.